Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Monday, February 24th. If you are just tuning in, we just finished going over what the future might look like for the Spurs and Greg Popovich. In this segment, we turn our attention to the NFL. Matthew Stafford, one of the best quarterbacks in all of the NFL at age 37, potentially on the trade market. We'll talk about how big a deal it is, where he might end up, and much more. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Monday, February 24th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into a little bit of Matthew Stafford talk. Matthew Stafford is one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL. No doubt about it, right? Matthew Stafford, in my opinion, is sitting anywhere in that 5 to 8 range. Now, 5 might be a little bit generous, but when you're talking about where these NFL quarterbacks rank season by season, you look at, especially in the playoffs, the guys that step up. Matthew Stafford undoubtedly is that guy. Matthew Stafford went number 1 overall to the Detroit Lions back in 2009 out of Georgia, got traded over to the Rams, and immediately when he was finally surrounded by the Super Bowl caliber talent, took his team and won a Super Bowl, right? Now Matthew Stafford, at age 37, is looking at getting one more cash grab, right? He's undoubtedly a great quarterback, but we've now seen over the last couple of seasons, outside of Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady, when one of these guys, one of these big name quarterbacks switches teams, it hasn't necessarily been super successful, especially at their veteran age. You think of a Russell Wilson leaving Seattle, heading to Denver. That was supposed to be a big move. You think of an Aaron Rodgers leaving Green Bay, going to the Jets. That one not necessarily worked out, but I think this one is a little bit different. Matthew Stafford showed that he still had game left in him, right? Matthew Stafford, a guy that's only going to be paid $23 million this season, has been taking it year after year. He's been a guy that says, I don't want to make a long-term commitment. The Rams feel the same way. They don't want to make a long-term commitment. Now, the Rams seemingly are trying to move off of that old core. They're making trade. They've let Cooper Kupp know that they're trading him away. He's on the trade block officially. Now they've given Matthew Stafford and his agents permission to ask around what basically it would take for how much he would get if he were to go to other teams. Now, there's a couple teams that automatically stick out in that bunch, and they're the teams that are, quote-unquote, a quarterback away, right? We're talking about the Steelers. The Steelers, a team that have been rumored to be a quarterback away for a very long time, since the end of Big Ben's prime, right? Or the Jets, who thought they were a quarterback away and seemingly were a quarterback away when they went out and got Aaron Rodgers. Maybe they make that, maybe they try one more time and go with Matthew Stafford. Both of these are great options, right? Obviously, I think the Rams should keep him. I think it'd be stupid of them to trade away Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, like I said before, is a top 5 to 8 quarterback in the NFL. Outside of the elite 4 of quarterbacks, right? You've got your Joe Burrow, your Patrick Mahomes, your Josh Allen, and your Lamar Jackson. Those are your top 4 guys, and no one is really putting a candle to them. Outside of that, your next group of 4, your top 5 to 8, you've got Matthew Stafford, you've got Jalen Hurts, you've got, in my opinion, Justin Herbert. I understand he's had his issues in big moments, but Justin Herbert, I think, pretty clearly a top quarterback in this league, and Jaden Daniels. Those are my next 4 quarterbacks in just about any order, right? You can put those guys in there, but either way, Matthew Stafford, especially what he showed against the Eagles defense that completely shut down a Chiefs team, completely shut down a Commanders team, completely shut down a Packers team. The only team that gave up that gave them any kind of fight at all was the Rams in the snow, which makes it even more impressive. They were doing it with inclement weather not helping them at all, right? That was massive. And it showed that Matthew Stafford still is one of the top quarterbacks in the game. And it's not just that, right? He has been a gunslinger forever. Matthew Stafford is going to be a great quarterback for at least one more season. So if you're looking at a team like the Giants or the Raiders, who have been rumored to be interested in Matthew Stafford, the Giants in particular have had their name all over Matthew Stafford for the last month or so. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit that timeline. But if you are a team like the Jets, for instance, I think would be the perfect fit for him outside of the Rams. Again, I don't understand why the Rams would want to move off of him other than the fact that they're just not willing to pay him money, which I don't understand. This is a team that is arguably in a Super Bowl contending window right now. They still have a great defense, a great defensive line in particular. You still have a great quarterback. You have two great wide receivers if you just stand pat. You've got a great running back. You have an offensive line that is solid when healthy. This is a team that is in a Super Bowl contending window. They're arguably the second best NFC team this season. That, when healthy, of course. The Lions are in there. But still, the Rams, they're a team that took the Lions to overtime in the first game of the season when the Lions were completely healthy and the Rams were not completely healthy, right? So you can make the argument that, look, this is a Rams team that is in a Super Bowl contending window, and they're just throwing it out because it doesn't fit their timeline, right? It's dumb. I think Matthew Stafford should stay on this team. They don't really have a succession plan behind him either, right? Behind Matthew Stafford, the Rams' top quarterback on the roster is Jimmy Garoppolo. And we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo shine in good situations, right? He's taken the 49ers to the Super Bowl. He's been successful when he was with the Patriots in the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era over there when they were winning Super Bowls and they were a dynasty, right? But he's not a guy that you want to rely on. There are plenty of things to think about with this team. Maybe if they move off of Matthew Stafford, they want to go get Aaron Rodgers. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I think Matthew Stafford is better than Aaron Rodgers. I've heard rumors potentially they go out and get a guy like Sam Darnold. I don't know. Matthew Stafford, again, is better than Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is not a ceiling raiser. Matthew Stafford is. Matthew Stafford, and that's the difference between these really top 10 quarterbacks and these not top 10 quarterbacks, right? These are the ones that are your ceiling raisers. These are the ones that are going to take a good team and make them great. These are the ones that are going to take a great team and make them contenders, right? These are the ones that are elite, right? The Sam Darnolds of the world, they're not going to raise your floor. The Jared Goffs of the world, they're not going to raise your floor. They're going to keep you exactly where they are. They're going to have they're going to take what you give them, and they're going to do their job exactly how well you give them that job, right? We talk about a situation in Minnesota that is just about as perfect as any situation can be for any quarterback, right? You have the best wide receiver in the NFL, a good running back, a great defense, a solid offensive line. That's all you could ever want and ever need, right? In the 49ers system, right? And I'm not saying Brock Purdy is and Brock Purdy, I think, is someone that's probably going to get paid a good amount of money. He's not at the same level as Matthew Stafford, right? You give him a great offensive line, some great weapons, a great defense, he can take you to a Super Bowl. Jimmy G did the same thing over there, right? He would be in that tier when he was in his prime, right? These are not floor raisers. These are just guys that are going to do what you have. They're going to do great with what you give them. Matthew Stafford is going to raise your team to that next level. So if you are looking for a trade for Matthew Stafford and you're a team like the Jets that really doesn't have a future, I'm giving up a top 10 pick. If you're a team like the Giants, it doesn't make sense, right? And I know I'm saying that as a Giants fan. I would love Matthew Stafford to join this team just because it would be fun. But Matthew Stafford joining the Giants would take them from a 3-win team to, at best, a 9-win wild card first-round exit team, right? This team is not good enough to add Matthew Stafford and then feel happy with it. Now, this is the kind of move that Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll would make because they want to save their jobs, and that's understandable from their end. I do understand where they're coming from and why they would want to do it like that. But for the future of the team, trading away that number 3 overall pick, even if even if you were going to take a quarterback that I don't think is as good as Matthew Stafford, it just doesn't work as well. So the teams that I think should go all in for Matthew Stafford, give up that top 10 pick, give up that first round pick. The Steelers, they don't really have that asset to do it, but they should kill for Matthew Stafford. They should give their soul, they should give their body, they should give their mind for Matthew Stafford. That would immediately take them to probably a 10 to 12 win team, I think. The Jets, we've tried it before, but Matthew Stafford probably worth that number 7 overall pick in my mind. You're not going to get someone better than that, especially at the quarterback situation that they have. There's not going to be a better option. Go get Matthew Stafford. Continue to build your team. You have a team that's basically ready to go. An elite defense now that you have a really good defensive coach back, because that defense was really good when they had their coach there, right? Before they fired Robert Saleh, they had a really good defense. Then everything fell apart. And Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford isn't going to be as bad for the locker room as Aaron Rodgers was. So the Jets, I think, should give that 7 overall pick, maybe even give a future second, future first, maybe, if that's the asking price, but just give everything he needs to Matthew Stafford to get this deal done, because that is by far your best option on this market. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think? Where do you think Matthew Stafford ends up? I personally think he's going to end up staying with the Rams. I don't think he gets traded, but in the off chance he does, I think the Jets and the Steelers should be the teams that go all the way in for him. I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to the San Francisco 49ers. We talked a little bit about them, what their offseason might look like as we get ready for what will be actually a very, very important offseason for them as they figure out what to do with Brock Purdy. We'll be right back here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.